Hello everyone and welcome to week 8. This week the process book is going to encompass 2 projects. We're going to be finishing up project 3, which is the typographic poster based on the font family, and we're going to be starting into project 4. So I know that's a lot of work this week, and it got a little confusing even as I was looking at the process book, so I'm going to try and walk through exactly what you need to do to finish project 3 and begin project 4 and what you need to know this week. Okay, so let's look at the week 8 process book instructions. Alright, so the font family poster. We are finishing it up, so last week you should have ended the week with I believe you were to pick the poster that you were liking the best. In any case, you should have it decided now, and you're going to be doing 4 color variations. So I think the requirement was to use 3 different colors. Don't quote me on that. You'll want to go back and check. But so make sure your poster uses a good color palette, and you're going to be doing 4 variations here and showing them in the book here. And then you will have your final poster. So you'll choose which of your 4 you like the best. This long list instruction thing in this image, I'm not sure what that is. I mean, I read through it and it seems like good stuff, but I'm not sure. That's not seen anywhere else, so I don't know. Don't pay too much attention to that. It's just, I guess, a helpful list of things that you should be including in your final poster. Anyhow, you're going to want to show your final poster on this page, and then you're going to do a Photoshop mock-up like we've done with previous assignments. You can just feel free to find your own Photoshop mock-up of a poster online just by searching Google. Just pick one that's, again, simple. We can see your whole posters laid out clearly, shows it kind of in an environment or in some sort of surface so we can see that it is a poster. They show your Photoshop mock-up here. And then you're going to upload it to Behance. And when I grade, I do grade off of the Behance post. That's kind of where I look to see what you're showing as your final image. I just kind of pull up the page and look at it. So make your post look nice. You're going to want to, as it says, highlight the design of your new alphabet design poster. So you want to talk about what is this poster, what is the font, kind of what the requirements were. Just have that little paragraph of explanation. Make sure you have good resolution on your photos, your page is clean and put together and looks professional. Yeah, and that will wrap up project 3. So pretty simple there. You're just, to refresh, doing the color variations, choosing your favorite, making sure it meets all the requirements for the project, turning it into a Photoshop mockup, and uploading to Behance. Okay, and now we're going to get started on project 4. So I'm going to jump over here to the project 4 brief, which is in week 8, the information for week 8. Project 4 is a bit more confusing, I think, than projects we've had in the past. It's more oriented towards maybe learning how to use InDesign than it is on design skills. So it's more of like a technical project to teach you how to use the program, how to work with web pages and long format text, and a little less about the kind of beautiful fun part of design. So you have to bear with us here. It's more of a learning project than a showing off your design skills project, but it is a long one. It's going to be 4 weeks. And it seems like a lot of work at first glance. I was reading through it and I was like, oh, this is a little confusing. So I'm just going to break it down, and in this screencast, I'm only going to talk about what you need to know for this week, and then I'll make another one next week, and we'll just kind of break it out that way, week by week, so we don't get overwhelmed. But let's start by looking at the whole brief. So the purpose is to design a system of typographic hierarchy. So the assignment is to design a style guide for a web magazine. So I don't know why they call it a web magazine. Just think of it as a website. This website is called Insight, and it's kind of just like a opinion website about interviews, ideas, kind of a news thing, maybe something like NPR or something like that. So your final project will be a single web page showing how each part of an interview is to be designed. And it is a style guide. So a style guide is basically just like a document that shows you the recipe for how you would lay out type in a different various situations. So here, the style guide would show someone, maybe a new designer's coming in, and they want to see how you on this website lay out interviews. What do interviews look like when you go to insight.com? And so this document, the style guide, would show them the formula of, well, here's all the fonts you use, here's when you use them, here's the size you use them, and it just makes it really straightforward so that you have consistency across a website or a brand. Like headlines are always Gotham 12 point with kerning set to 0. And subheads are always Baskerville italic size 12. And those things always stay the same. So a style guide just shows us exactly the formulas and recipes for all the different parts on a page. The heading, the subhead, the pull quote, the question and answer section. And you'll see that as we start to get into this, what all those requirements are. So again, they call this a web page. That can be confusing. We're not coding. We're not actually building a web page. We're just kind of doing the more design aspect of it. This is all going to be done in InDesign. So again, you're not coding. You're not actually uploading anything to the web. This isn't a live website. Think of it, if web page seems a little scary to you, as you're just designing a magazine article. But instead of the dimensions being for a magazine page, like 8.5 by 11, it's for a website. So as you can see here, they showed, as we all know, websites scroll. They're really long pages. So imagine you're viewing this right here as a website. So you would scroll right down and see the different parts. And then right here, it kind of cuts off the bottom and then comes back on the top over here. So that's kind of a standard when you're showing a website that's really long like this, is to maybe split it in half. So it takes up less room on a page. So this is an example of a previous student who did this assignment. And it's really small here. I actually went onto her Behance and found it larger. So again, here's the whole page. And if you would like to see like exactly what it looks like, I will post this to this link along with the screencast, so you can go through and see exactly how she did it, how everything's broken down in a little bit bigger format. So I'll make sure to post that. Okay, back to this. Let's see. Okay, the specifications. So you're going to be producing a one-page style guide, 800 pixels by 3000 pixels. So it's a style guide. That means the focus should be on designing all the parts as a future designer may need to design a new page. So again, you're just giving them the kit of parts. You're building this formula for them so that anyone can get on and copy it and have the same results. Okay, it's going to need to have one image. They want it to all be one text column. So don't split it into two columns again like this. It's just one column of text. Every element should be assigned a paragraph style. We're going to talk about that in depth. That's like 90% of this assignment, is these paragraph styles and learning how to use them in InDesign. If you used them before, you've got a leg up on this, and that'll be really helpful. If not, I'll make sure to walk through how to assign paragraph styles so everybody knows. Should be designed to be read on a screen. Simple header. So in addition to designing the actual article, you're going to be designing this little like Insights logo and header thing as if it were on a website. But again, just keep it really simple. We're not like doing tricky things with logos, and just a simple set and a simple type will do. Okay, let's see. Yeah, footer, don't use advertising, only use the class fonts. Be conscious of designing your space. Okay, minimum of 3 colors also. Okay, so these required paragraph styles. Let's jump over now. That's a good transition into what you're going to be doing for the process book this week. Okay, So step one in the process book obviously is to choose the content you'll be working with. They want you to find an interview. I would just check some news outlets like Time Magazine, NPR, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, things like that. Find an interview and find one that has a lot of information in it. You're looking for something that's fairly long, maybe 2 pages or so, if not longer, and has a lot of various components like headers, subheads, captions for a photograph, lists, bullet points, just lots of things to work with here because as we see, you're going to have to have an article that represents all these different parts. A headline, a subhead, the author, the date, section headings, body copy, question and answers, block quotes, captions, a list. The navigation with 5 options is that what we were talking about Insight magazine, and then the navigation to be like home, about, news, the little tabs on the page. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, and any other elements. Okay, so what you're going to do, and I've downloaded this and started an example in InDesign. So I found my article and I just copied it all and then pasted it in here, just plain text, no formatting, no styles, just pasted this whole interview in here. Now, I understand it might be hard to find an interview that represents all of these different things right here. If you're struggling, it's okay to just kind of fudge it a little, and I'll be okay if you need to, for instance, add in your own block quote. If you need to just make up something that sounds like it fits the article and stick it in there, that's okay with me. If you need to write your own little caption or come up with your own question and answer section, that's okay. It's not about the content for the assignment, it's more about the style. So as you can see here with my article, I've had to insert some of my own stuff, and I'm sure you'll come across it. I stuck in this pull quote, I gave it some headings. As long as it just sounds like it could be real, I'm fine with it. So I copied this whole just plain text article. I made sure that my document here met the specifications of the size, this really long rectangular page. Okay, so all of this is what's going to go right here in your process book on page 61. So step 1, collect the content. So it's all here. All my content is here, and you can see I have all the different parts. So I have the headline of the article, here's a subhead for the article, here's the author, here's the date, here was a caption if there's going to be a photo in there. Here is a list, a little bulleted list, a subhead, a pull quote, question and answer. So you can see I've got all the parts here. It's all here, extends 2 pages. I've got all of my information I'm working with. And that's all you do for this page. Just post it plain, no styles, no formatting. Okay, so once I have all that, and sorry, I don't want to confuse you here. So for step 4, you're going to now, I should have showed you this first. Now you're going to make this page that follows the dimensions, this really long rectangular page. I would make this in a separate InDesign document because when you're finished with it here, you're going to put the final product right here onto this page. Okay, so back over to all my content here. The next thing they want you to do step 2. Tag each element of content with a paragraph style. And at this point, they just want you to use colors to represent the different paragraph styles. So I guess the best way for me to show you this is just to get right in here. So if you've never used paragraph styles before, they're very useful when you're designing long format text, such as a book or a magazine, and you want to be able to repeat the same styles multiple times without like going through a 100-page document and having to select every chapter title and set it the way you want it with fonts and sizing and things. So paragraph styles is a little dialog box like this. So to get to it, you'd go to Window, styles, and paragraph styles. We'll bring up this box. So basically, every piece of information, all of these little sections should have their own paragraph style. So right now it's set to basic paragraph, which just means this is just the default Minion Pro 12 point. There's been nothing added to it yet. We haven't customized it in any way. So let's start with, we want to identify all these different parts. So let's start with the headline. We want to show what the headline is in this piece. So the headline is A Childhood in a Distant Land. So how this assignment wants you to break it down for this week is to use colors to show all the different parts. So the headline gets one color, subhead gets one color, subheadline, body copy, etc., etc. So I will select A Childhood in Distant Land, which is my headline. I will change the color to, okay, so we're at CMYK. Let's just make it 100% cyan. There we go. Okay, so my headline is going to be blue. Now I'll choose a different color for my subhead. Let's make the subhead orange. Let's make the author purple. Let's make the date yellow. Now I won't go through the whole article, but you get the gist, and we'll start making this body copy green. Okay, so now we have this really colorful looking document here, started identifying all of the parts. So I would go through at this point and just do this for the whole document. Make sure your question and answer is in one color, the pull quote is a color, everything should be a different color. And when elements repeat, so for instance, this is a subhead, and we're going to make it, let's make it navy blue. And then next time we have a subhead down here, we'll want it to be the same navy blue. So right there, I just showed you kind of an example of why we need paragraph styles. So instead of, well, here's my subhead, and now every time I have a subhead, I have to use the eyedropper tool to make it the same, this is where paragraph styles comes in handy. So I will back up and we'll show you how to use that. Okay. So now we're going to add these paragraph style tags. So I will select my headline, we'll start there, and over here I'm going to select this box, do new paragraph style, and it brings up this box. Now I'm going to name this paragraph style headline, so I know that that's the element I'm working with. And then these over here are where you would customize all of these different options. So all of the things about my headline. Was it hyphenated, justification, is it colored, what kind of font is it, all of these different things. This is what we're going to work with in forthcoming weeks. For this week, the only thing that should be changed for the headline is just the color. We just want to make it blue. And we're kind of setting up this whole document this week so that next week when we go back to edit it, we already have the headline tagged as a paragraph style, so we can go back and say, okay, well, I don't want it to be blue, I want it to be Baskerville size 12 bold. And we'll go add that style in now that we already have it tagged as a headline. I hope that makes sense. So we'll hit OK, and you can see that, close this little thing out. You can see that over here now we have a headline tag. So every time I see a headline in here, which in this article there is only one headline, it's the main headline, you would select it and it would turn it blue because that's what we've identified as a headline. So like we did down here, this is a subhead. So let's make a subhead tag. New paragraph style, subhead. Oops, and I can't spell. Okay. And now we have a subhead. I don't know why this box keeps popping up. So now when we want to go find our next subhead, we select it, click subhead, and it changed the color to navy because that's the subhead color. So once you kind of establish where one of these items are, you just need to do it once, and then you can go through and for every block quote and for every caption, you can just choose it out of the paragraph style list. So make sure you go through the whole thing. and yeah, do what we just did. So new paragraph style, this is the, what do we want to call it, sub-headline, I guess. Get rid of that thing. This is the author, so new paragraph style, author. And you're just going to do that for your whole document so that all of these things are established with a different tag, so that next week when we want to go back and change them out of these colors into something a little more nicely designed, it will already all be set up for you. You've done all the footwork already. So when you've finished with this whole thing, it should just look like a big rainbow of type with all the different parts tagged with their corresponding paragraph style. And then you're going to take this big colorful type document and drop it in right here. And that is all you're doing for this week for the process book for project 4. I hope that was helpful and that made sense. I'm also going to attach a little video on paragraph styles to this announcement if you want a more in-depth version, or if mine wasn't clear enough, if you want to hear it from a pro, I'll attach that on there. But basically that's all you need to know for this week about how to set up paragraph styles. Again, we're just changing the color this week. That's the only element we're working with so far is color. And we will start adding more elements in the weeks to follow. Let me make sure I got you caught up with everything. Yeah, and if you want to read it, if you are a better learn through reading, it's right here, everything I just went through about how to set it up, the dimensions you'll need, how to change the colors, how to do the paragraph style. Here's an example, how it's all colorful. That's what it's going to look like. Okay, and then as always we have our drawing type and the type journal activity. So hopefully that answered all of your questions. And please, feel free to email me if you have anything else. Thanks.